Hello everyone, welcome back to our Baldur's Gate 3 part of this podcast. Today's episode is all about our friendly neighborhood devil and our semi-alright person Gortash. Listen to this podcast on Amazon Music, iHeart, and Spotify. We'll start this part of our podcast with Raphael. Raphael is the son of Mephistopheles, the archdevil of Kenya, the 8th layer of the 9 hells. Being an heir of the archdevil granted him much more power and higher rank than a lot of devils. However, Raphael was annoyed by his father getting ahead of him and snatching the crown of Karsus after Karsus's folly, and his stingy behavior of locking the crown in his treasure vault rather than putting it to good use. He had a tense relationship with an Ortheon named Yurgur. When Yurgur had to fulfill a contract with him, Raphael seized the opportunity to trap the Ortheon with the contract so that he could never interfere with his affairs. A pair of dwarf sisters had associations with Raphael, one named Corolla Hearthflame, who served Raphael willingly as his agent. The other one was known only as Hope, who refused to serve Raphael by any means. Raphael was annoyed and intrigued by Hope's resilience towards his deal and keeping her own hopes. So he imprisoned her in his lair and tortured her in horrific ways to make her surrender one day. At some point, a servant of Raphael bought him a young boy named Gortash from Baldur's Gate. Raphael raised and kept the boy in his dungeon until Gortash escaped the House of Hope. Raphael is the lover of an incubus named Harlip. The incubus was planted there in the orders of Mephistopheles, likely without Raphael's knowledge, to distract his wayward spawn. He is very good at getting into people's heads and leading them astray. He uses flowery language, the promise of salvation, and the threat of despair to better manipulate those he targeted. In combat, Raphael was a fearsome enemy. He had several lesser cambions at his beck and call, and could even compel the Ortheon Yurgur, with whom he had a contract, to fight on his behalf. With the ability to detect invisible creatures, attack multiple times with a flurry of talions, high defenses, and a complete immunity to fire, the fiend was dangerous indeed. Here's some more story on him. In the year of the Sendrid Webs, 339 DR, Raphael witnessed the catastrophic event of Karsus's folly, and the fall of Netheril. The mighty power of the crown of Karsus caught his attention, and he came up with the goal of using the crown to reunite the 9 hells. Unfortunately, his archdevil father Mephistopheles took the crown and locked it away. Raphael waited for the opportunity to snatch the crown for himself ever since. During or before the year of the Wrathful Eye, 1391 DR, Raphael was contacted by an architect of the Thorm family who wished to end the dark Justiciar army of his former master Ketheric Thorm. Raphael granted the deal with the architect in exchange for his soul. He sent the Ortheon Yurgur to fulfill the contract, but manipulated the situation to trap the Ortheon by the contract's terms. In the year of the 3 ships sailing, 1492 DR, a mysterious mind flare captured various individuals, including the cleric Shadowheart and monster slayer Will, aboard his nautiloid ship. The mind flare had inserted an illithid tadpole into their eyes, and the victims began to feel strange effects. After the nautiloid crashed, some captive adventurers left the wreckage and traveled together around the western heartlands, eventually making camp on several occasions. At some point, Raphael appeared before the adventurers and transported them to the House of Hope. He offered them a lavish banquet and an exquisite dining hall within. Raphael offered them an opportunity to rid them of those tadpoles and halt the process of transformation, but only if they entered into an infernal contract with him. If you are able to pickpocket him or kill him, you can get 3 diary chapters from him. Chapter 1 says, a chapter from a diary penned in Raphael's sabiritic hand. While I have, over many sumptuous seasons, cast the net of my contractual predilections both far and wide, never have I been so attracted to mortals as I am to those infested by the tadpole. These particular fish find themselves flashing towards their doom, towards a steel hook embellished by bait. How they resist the current. How inexorable its whelm, its tug, its dark undertow. At the other end of the fishing pole, the illithid. How their tentacles must quiver like cool jelly at the prospect of more catches. More and more each day along the troubled river bank. This process has a name I sample now aloud, to savor its taste. Ceramorphosis. I shall make crafty use of this development, for with the hook glinting and death so close, what could loom larger in the stricken fish's mind than a prospect of rescue? End quote of chapter 1. What we can take from that chapter is that he's growing intrigued with how the illithid are pushing and infecting us mortals and how we all react to them differently. How we are so tempted to push farther and farther to taste and feel the powers that come with it. How some mortals are running towards the already infected, aka true souls, just to join the front lines with everyone else, while many are running and trying to avoid it all. Here is chapter 2. A chapter from a diary penned in Raphael's steady, imperious scrawl. Last night, I dreamt of a river. Waist deep, I waded it. Rusted hooks curled up from the water like snaggled teeth of something ancient, deceased, and submerged. The moon over the water cracked, and the fire flew out on the stubby wings of formless, insanely chirping chick. They transformed into wiggling oblongs like sperm. Yet by the time they hit the water, they were fish with scales of orange and gold. There came a rushing sound, the dark water ablaze as if the fish were matched in the river snake oil. Approaching me, out of the flames, came the tadpole infested. There was one among them who spoke for the rest. They gestured to the melting hooks, suddenly glanced my way, and in their face I saw they had the best of me. In waking, my courage has firmed. I progress my plans for the tadpole, even now. I am Raphael. I am not easily bested. End quote. We can finally start to see he is a bit afraid of the infected. He is starting to fear that they might be stronger than him because they are growing in ranks, and he keeps pushing more and more to understand them, and they don't want to be understood. Chapter 3. The final chapter from a diary penned in Raphael's hand. Here and there, his composed hand stiffens and moves erratically, as if he were by times seized by emotion, both powerful and unexpected. The plot thickens, goes the euphemism. Entirely inadequate. The plot mutates. It fluctuates. I have conceived no less than 13 variations by which I might seize the crown of Karsus. Yet, in the tumult of this entirely flowing river of schemes, I, the most careful of fishermen, finds his catch elusive and difficult to wrangle. Even in cooperation, such ambiguity and delicious surprise. But the hook is snagged. The doom of Ceramorphosis has abdicated. Yet, they could not predict, could they? Could they? That in leaving behind the river, they have in fact welcomed the fishbowl. I am master here, a prince of bargains cloaked like scarlet satin, all that hidden under sublimely obvious truths that cannot be discounted. So, the fisherman reels. The tadpole are my catch. Struggling as they might, wither as they wish, flop and squirm and thresh with every ounce of strength, no matter. By all the reeking flames of hell, I will not be denied. End quote. In his last chapter, we can see he discovered what happened to the crown of Karsus that he desperately craves. He's starting to get pissed off and lose his mind that two mortals can get the crown and he could not. He is starting to feel weak compared to it. It seems that he might be getting mocked by Corolla or someone else about how he was not strong enough to get the crown, yet two mere mortals were. He's getting pissed off because he wants that crown, so he tries to sweeten the deal with the adventurer he found by giving them a way out. With the Orphic hammer. With it, he knows they could free Orpheus. In return, he would get the crown he so desperately craves. And what pisses him off more is that his adopted son, Raphael and Gortash, was the one to steal the crown. Not for his stepfather, no, for himself. It's interesting to see the thoughts of someone so powerful slowly start to lose their cool over the course of this game. Okay, let's change the subject to Enver Gortash. Enver Gortash was born to Dravo and Sally Flim, proprietors of Flim's Cobblers in Baldur's Gate. When he was a young boy, his parents sold him to a warlock, who in turn was acting on the devil Raphael's behalf, making Raphael his adoptive father. At some point before 1482 DR, Gortash took into his employ the tiefling Karlak as a personal bodyguard. He later betrayed the young woman by selling her to Zariel, the archdevil ruler of Avernus, who implanted an infernal engine in place of her heart. This infernal engine would serve as a prototype for the Steel Watch, recognizable to the Clockwork Sentinels. In order to accomplish his goal of ruling over the Sword Coast, Gortash entered into an alliance with two of his fellow chosen, Ketheric Thorm, a follower of Merkel, god of death, and the individual known as the Dark Urge, a killer and faithful of Baal. After he came back to the city with an establishment of the cult of the Absolute, he placed an illithid tadpole in his parents' brains, turning them into puppets that could do little more than praise their exalted son. Oof. Tough growing up. But then again, who in the world has a simple growing up? Not many. So let's dig a little deeper into it. That was the basic field, but we're missing more details, so let me spill some tea for you all. As a child, Enver was sold by his parents to an unknown warlock so that they could pay off their heavy debts. The warlock delivered the young boy to their patron, Raphael. Gortash was kept and raised in the dungeon of Raphael's lair called the House of Hope. The dungeon keeper, Nobdalin, tortured the young Gortash for entertainment from time to time. At some point, Gortash escaped the House of Hope when Nobdalin made a careless mistake. In the year of 3 ships sailing, 1492 DR, Lord Gortash and his closest ally, the Ballspawn murderer, known as the Dark Urge, formulated a plot to enslave an elder brain that dwelt in the depths beneath Moonrise Towers. They stole a powerful Netherese artifact, the Crown of Karsus, from the vault of the archdevil Mephistopheles, using it to enslave the elder brain. The two formed a cult dedicated to a new god, known as the Absolute, causing the enslaved elder brain to send the cultists visions, urging them to obediently follow the commands of the gods chosen. This plot came to be known as the Accelerated Grand Design. The Dark Urge carried out a series of murders in Baldur's Gate, creating great instability within the city's surrounding lands. Their new ally, the near-immortal Merkelite General Ketheric Thorm, raised an army of cultists, monstrous humanoids, and undead at Moonrise Towers, which then marched shadow-cursed lands to Baldur's Gate. Gortash would be proclaimed the first Archduke of Baldur's Gate and emerge as its savior, defeating the grave threat with his own valiant army. The Dark Urge, for their part, was attacked at Moonrise Towers by their allies, implanted with an illithid tadpole that their allies hoped would be able to subdue them, and replaced by the cult of Orin, the granddaughter of Baal. Gortash and his allies managed to capture Duke Ulder Ravengard as he fled the city of Elturel and imprisoned him beneath Moonrise Towers. The loss of the Flaming Fist's leader, along with the threat posed by the cult, threw the city into chaos. Gortash provided the Balduran people a solution to their plight, an army of automatons under the command that would protect everyone within the city. This elevated him from a mere counselor to lord. He sought to be named the city's first archduke, who would rule in place of the Balduran Council of 4. Something very interesting happens when you use Speak with the Dead on Gortash after you kill him. When you use Speak with Dead on him, he will not speak to Gortash's soul. Instead, you speak to Bane. He will tell you that Gortash's soul is suffering at his hands, and that anyone who fails Bane suffer the same way. You get a few options, and when you ask who you're speaking to, he will say, "I am Bane, the Black Lord. I am the ultimate tyrant. I am fear. I am hate. And you are the dagger that bled Merkel's favored. You are the thorn that pricks at my sides. Yet you are proof that I will still rise, and Baal and Merkel will yield. One question asked, 4 still remains." When you ask him, "You said I am proof you will rise. What do you mean?" He will respond with, "You live for power. You have proven it with every fallen foe, every chest open, every skull claimed. As long as mortals and immortals die for sharper blades and louder voices, I am strengthened. So so it is for Baal and Merkel, and so it is for you. You make me eternal. You then say, I am no agent of yours. I seek power for proper ends, not for its own sake. He'll just laugh at your words, and the narrator will tell you the corpse says nothing more because you didn't ask the question. You can then say, why did you ally with Merkel and Baal? He will respond, why do red dragons ally with the Githyanki? Why did the broken god befriend Tyr? And by turning mortals illithid, you deny their souls to their keepers. You do not stoke fear by reaping your own fields, but by burning your foes. You can then ask how to earn his favor, with which he will respond with, you gained my favor when you slayed Gortash. Your need for power exceeds even his. Use the netherstones to command the brain and unleash your infected army, and I will count you among my chosen. Or do not. Your lust for victory still brings you one step closer to me. It's very interesting how you can talk to a god through the body of his chosen. You can ask where the Iron Throne is located, and he'll tell you. You can also ask where Orin is, and he'll tell you that Baal's temple is hidden to even his eyes. Which doesn't exactly tell you where she is, but it does as well. Because she's a shapeshifter, so she's like everywhere but not. Well, with all that information, that is all I had to talk about for today's episode. I hope everyone enjoyed. I hope you guys all learned something new. I know I did. If you didn't learn anything new, I hope you enjoyed anyways. And if you caught me messing up a few times, let me know. I don't criticize. I make mistakes. We're human. That's what we do. Alright everyone, I hope you all enjoyed. See you next time!